fucked up as my childhood was, you trying to explore that with me has bothered the shit out of me. Like all week, I'm like, what was she trying to get at? It was bothering me that I didn't understand. Like, cause it felt like, there's this thing, the things you know you don't know, and the things you don't know.
Right.
It sat in a place that I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was driving me crazy. So I'm like sitting there.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
One thing that happens is when there's a very intense thing that gets triggered in the relationship, often it comes not only from what's going on, let's say, between the two of you, but also fueled by things from your past.
Yep.
And the pain and loneliness that you described, it was such a palpable description. It was so alive the way you described it, that it had a feeling that you're almost like you're channeling something that's way beyond the two of you.
Yeah. Something that kept replaying in my head this past week was these very small micro moments throughout my childhood. Like,
Tell me.
I went really long periods of time where my mom and my dad were separating. I couldn't see my dad. And my dad was my best friend. Like, I loved my dad. I looked up to my dad. He was like a superhero to me. Like, if I could be half the father my dad was, like, I want to cry right now thinking about it. But like, if I could be half the father my dad was, I'd be proud of myself. Because my dad, he could have been like any of his peers. My dad grew up in the projects of Brooklyn, and there's many of fathers that just decided not to be in their children's lives, especially in an adversary like my mother. But my dad, by any means, made sure he was in my life. He would sneak me a phone and be like, this is how I'm gonna call you. I'll meet you here at this time. Bring me an Easter basket. Like, he would do these things that really meant a lot to me. So when I was able to explore it, it made me realize that feeling of loneliness stems from the moments where I felt like I was being kept from my dad.
I really appreciate the way you're talking about it and following your own process. And did you also allow yourself to get connected to these feelings of like longing and loneliness and abandonment?
Yeah. I think I don't think I resolved them in the way that, but I think I understood them a bit more. But I think at the same time, I feel justified in what I feel in my relationship, my current relationship with Natasha. Like, I feel justified.
Well, of course you're justified. Let's say, I don't know, Natasha, I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, how this connects to your dynamic, but...
I think if I was to look at it from like a therapy perspective, is that if he is feeling in any way like a parallel with his father, anything that happens between us, I become a parallel to his mother. And that could be really tough to reconcile with, right?
Yeah.
And so it may be really easy to go back there.
This might sound a little strange, but one thought I'm having is that it's almost like, Natasha, you're, by withholding your warmth and intimacy, you're the mom holding back the dad.
Oh, yikes.
From Josh. You're holding back the good stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
I could see that connection.
Yeah, and like to be that in any capacity is sort of like shocking. Like, I kind of just want to push it away. It's not a comfortable thought to have.
That's really interesting. I feel like another door opened inside my brain. I'm like, okay, I gotta, there's these rooms in my brain, and they're like nice and organized and compartmentalized, and I'm like, I did all this work in there, and I'm like, oh. Like, I moved the bookshelf and there's another door, and I'm like, where the fuck did this door come from? And I opened it and it's just fucked up and messy. And I'm like, there's just a little much work to do in there. And that's what it feels like just happened at this very moment. I'm like, yeah.